Week 1 of the WCSL versus Lilycove Spheals versus the Eldritch Spectiers.
Mm-hmm.
Of the Pokemon they didn't bring, the one I was most scared of was Tangela, or not Tangela, like Tangrowth,
Tangrowth, yeah.
because Tangrowth has that redirection.
Yeah.
One of the big things I realized doing the teams is that Boltund is the fastest of all the Pokemon, and then the only Pokemon
Yeah.
he had that outsped Urshifu or Solgaleo was Raikou, which they didn't bring.
Yeah.
But given Solgaleo outspeeds Kyurem White, it's a pretty big advantage going into this match. However, there's no way for me to OHKO it with
Mm-hmm.
just Life Orb. I would
Yeah.
either have to use a weakness policy set or use Helping Hand, but I have both Boltund and Aromatisse with Helping Hand to be able to
Mm-hmm.
just pick up a clean OHKO on it, even if it Dynamaxes.
Yeah. It's
Which,
really nice to have.
yep, and the Helping Hand gets around Fake Out from Togomadaru, which is the other thing that was pretty scary.
Yeah, for sure. And
Um,
like looking at the matchup, I can see that like Kieran White does not super great against your entire team. It has its moments against a couple of your Pokemon, but looking at the team you brought along, um, really like the biggest offensive threats, it's not doing much to. And I'm looking at like Gigalith and Solgaleo.
yep. The scary thing is that it can Max Dragon into basically any of my Pokemon, except
For
for
sure.
Aromatisse. It can Max Ice into most of them. And the move I was scared of it running is Kyurem White actually gets Flash Cannon.
Oh, really?
So, which is very scary for my Aromatisse. So my Aromatisse is actually set up to be max HP, max special defense, and it
Yeah.
just barely lives a max steel spike from Kyurem.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it also has the fire coverage for Solgaleo, but I think also Gigalith usually does, like in my mind, that's usually doing okay in Dynamax with Sand against it. It has a pretty positive matchup.
Yep, the sand giving the special defense boost is really helpful here. A lot of my team where I did invest in bulk was into special defense just because their entire team, they didn't have any real physical
Yeah, for
threats
sure.
other than maybe Savali.
Yeah.
Which is like kind of sad for Incineroar, but that's why I have the Assault Vest Incineroar this week instead of something normal like a berry, is just
Yeah.
because there's so many special attackers and I still want to be able to get parting shots or like fake outs off with Incineroar.
Yeah.
Um,
Savali's one of those wildcard Pokemon as well. I always like recommend it to people when they're drafting just because it's really hard to prep for.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you can only do so much with like parting shot and multi-attack, but still,
yeah,
you know,
but multi-attack being able to have a stab of whatever type you need for the
yeah,
match, or
and a
the option of
switch-in.
going, but you also have the option of going normal gem and just going boom.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's something, like, especially for my team with no ghost types, it's something that I could be scared of.
Yeah. Even just seeing it in team preview, you've got to think about what it might be. You have to think carefully about your lead and like, you know, if it's going to go boom, how are you going to stop that from happening?
Yep. And then Celesteela is also another very scary one because I don't really have like the combination of flying and fire is very good into my team.
Yeah, I noticed that before. I was going to point that out. It's
And
the only Pokemon on their team that I can see doing really well against yours.
Yep.
Like for most of your ones.
Yep. Nice thing is I outspeed it with most of my Pokemon, or can like Trick Room under it.
Yeah.
As long as Suicune doesn't set up a Tailwind.
Yeah, for sure.
So basically,
It's still super threatening.
Yep. Going into this week, the two main cores I have is being able to do these top 4 Pokemon. And
Yep.
just leading Boltund, Solgaleo, and then just start snarling with Boltund, or like helping handing. The other core is the Aromatisse plus Gigalith, just because they underspeed the entire team.
Yeah.
And are bulky
It's so
enough
good to have those. Oops, sorry.
Go ahead.
It's so good to have, the variety of speed tiers where you can underspeed everything and outspeed everything.
Yeah, my opponent's team, the biggest weakness that I could abuse this week was the fact that like 6 of their Pokemon were in between 80 and 96 for their speeds.
Yeah. It's not something you think about much when you're drafting, like for the first time especially. You don't think about your speed tiers until you're finished and you're like, oh crap.
Yeah, so you want to go ahead and go into the game then?
Let's do it.
So you can see this, correct?
Yeah. Oh, good. Jumping into it.
Yep, jumping right into it. So game 1, I'm going with my kind of default mode, which was those top 4 Pokemon.
Yeah.
Leading Solgaleo, Boltund, and then having Urshifu in the back to be able to sweep if I can set it up correctly, and having Incineroar for general support. Interesting to note here is that Suicune is pressure, which means it's not protected from Rock Slides. But this turn 1, I'm just going for a Rock Slide Snarl. Snarl to try to make it so overheats don't just Oko Solgaleo.
Yeah, for sure.
But you'll notice that Snarl went off before Solgaleo, and that is because I screwed up I forgot to re-EV my Boltund for this game, or for this week. So I left this part in where I'm going through and checking, and
Oh, I see. That's really unfortunate.
This is my Assault Vest Boltund set from the last league I was in. So I sit here thinking for a couple seconds, and I've already realized I am not bringing Boltund the next 2 games.
Yeah. I was gonna say, Rotom's really threatening either Big Dynamax or Willow into Solgaleo at the moment.
Yep, and I didn't realize Suicune got screens, so they just set up a Burn and a Reflect, so now this Solgaleo is doing absolutely 0 damage.
Yeah, completely nullified at the moment, without any boosts especially.
Yep.
It feels almost like when that happens to one of your Pokemon, it almost feels like dead weight. But I guess you can still spam those rock slides and see if you can get any flinches. It's not completely gone.
Getting those flinches, and at this point I just kind of need to get chip down Suicune, because I gotta.
On the field.
Yep. Yeah. At this point, I'm thinking in order to win, I gotta set up my Urshifu in the back, and my Urshifu basically can't beat Suicune.
Yeah.
And I need to make sure I get rid of the Suicune before I can set up another Tailwind, because I need my Urshifu to be able to get a couple attacks off. Assault Vest coming in clutch there against the Scald, but this Rotom's just gonna kind of keep protecting to put it in a situation where I'm not actually getting Rock Slides off onto it.
Yeah, and Bread here is playing super defensively, and it's working out at the moment. Big KO on Solgaleo as well. Yep.
Yeah, the Rotom is going to be the biggest threat into that Solgaleo.
Yeah,
Scald
for sure.
here. It's not going to do too much. But I do finally get a Snarl off, so fortunately this Rotom is at -3, which means its electric type attacks are not going to be too threatening into Urshifu.
And Taylor peed it out, so you could
Yep, at this point,
have brought in the Urshifu to destroy it.
Well, I wanted to make sure we didn't get another Tailwind up, so that's why I went into Boltund here.
Yeah,
you see I went into the Volt Switch to hit it.
Is it grass?
Yep, that is Grass Savali. My team has Gastrodon as a Pokemon I did not bring. So this Grass Savali is a threat for my Urshifu, It is Urshifu Water, even though the nickname is Urshifu Dark.
That's good. Good stuff.
But that's basically the only thing the Savali is able to do in this matchup, because its grass-type attacks just don't do anything into any of my other Pokemon.
Yeah, for sure. You can see the withdrawal. That comes.
Yep.
Suicune again.
Yeah, he was predicting a Surging Strikes into the Rotom.
Yeah.
And even though it's critting, so it's like getting around with a Reflect, it's still not doing much damage into a Suicune.
Yeah. Suicune's just one of those Pokemon that can stand on the field for a really long time, and especially, with screens. I mean, obviously you went through them, but for your other Pokemon, getting a Snarl, so it's nice against the Suicune.
Yep, good chip, because it means that now I can Surging Strikes into the Suicune again, and there's basically nothing they can do, because if they switch out, Urshifu's going to pick up pick up a KO onto whatever they switch out into, and the Snarl was able to chip it down enough that the Surging Strikes is going to kill the Suicune before a Tailwind. And then Savali gets to get another attack off of its choice. It goes for Thunder Wave, which I think is a mistake here. I think they just wanted to go for an attack. Because then this Feral Blitz is going to pick up this KO. But they did lower my speed, which means the Pokemon they're switching into will be faster.
Yeah. Were you prepared to lose Urshifu in that turn? Or do you have the Sash to attack? I can't.
Well, I had an Intimidate off, so Urshifu shouldn't have died there, because Urshifu's physically bulky.
I see.
It's just not specially bulky, which is why it tends to be a Glass Cannon. But now we got Dynamax on both their Zekrom and Urshifu. And I'm going to Max Guard here because I need to make sure I get rid of this Rotom before I can start attacking. He correctly, though, goes Max Quake into the
Big Cat?
Incineroar, yeah. Which is unfortunate, but I needed to make sure, because now I'll at least get... Oop, didn't want to click that.
Shiny Kyurem looking real nice.
Yep, so at this point, I'm basically was about to concede, except for the Rotom's electric type of move is Discharge, which paralyzed their Pokemon, which actually leaves me in this because if I can get a big max fighting off into this the Zekrom, or not Zekrom, Kyurem. However, I get paralyzed. Did I lose? Oh. I think I lost you with sound because I accidentally muted you.
Uh-oh.
You're back
For
up.
how long?
For a couple seconds there.
Oh, okay, no worries.
Yep. But that was a pretty unfortunate, it was super awesome that they got the paralyze on themselves to lower their speed, but then I got paralyzed, or full para'd, so I didn't get to actually pick up a KO there.
If I were them, I might even just be hitting the Will-O-Wisp button that, oh no, you're paralyzed. My bad.
Yeah, I was paralyzed, so they wanted to just get damage off into it.
Yeah.
But going into Game 2 here, knowing that I can't go into Boltund, I go ahead and send out my Trick Room Pokemon. My Solgaleo has Fair Blitz, so I'm going to be able to pick up this KO on Savali just straight away first turn.
I think that's putting your opponent on the back foot turn one. I think that's really strong in this situation.
And yes, I trade Solgaleo off for Savali here because of the overheat, but now Rotom's not a threat because of the special attack drop, and I get Trick Room up with a free switch in into Gigalith.
Yeah, so really you trade Solgaleo for Savali, but also you get a free sweep.
Yep. Yep.
I guess
So
you do still have to worry about Will-O-Wisp, so Rotom is your like priority at the moment, unless you're concerned about Celesteela. But your weakness policy, so you're not even like I'd assume.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about Celesteela, but it is still scary because it can chunk a lot of damage into it.
Yeah.
But at this point, given the Rotom's basically doing no damage, I'm not too scared of it. I'm just trying to chunk down this Celesteela because it's their last. Because my last Pokemon is Urshifu, which is just going to be a huge offensive threat into a potential Kyurem in the back. So I want to make sure I get rid of the Celesteela as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Really smart play going into the Aromatisse over the Gigalith there from their end.
Yep, worried about a weakness policy. So they get a Will-O-Wisp off. But note, Aromatisse actually has 2 abilities other than Aromavale, and that other one is Healer, which is a 30% chance to heal your teammate.
That's so good.
So we did not get burned there. Which I'm not sure was the correct, like in hindsight, if that was the best setup for me, because if I had been stuck burned there, it probably would have cost me the game, but they have to both hit a burn and then also miss the 30% chance, so it's closer to a 50-50. But at this point, the Celesteela has picked up 2 defense boosts. Which is going to be very annoying to deal with.
Yeah.
And
for sure, with a boost as well. A lot of potential to just snowball here, especially since your last Pokemon is Incineroar.
Oh yeah, it was Incin, not... My Incineroar has close combat, so it actually does damage into this Kyurem.
Yeah.
But at this point, it's basically, who do I think they're going to protect with, but... really, it just comes down to me just clicking attacks into both Pokemon to try to chip them down.
For sure.
Actually, no, that was a double up into Kyurem, which I think was a mistake. I should have split them up. Because I close combat into the Kyurem as well, trying to just get rid of their offensive threat there. Huge Steel Spike, but Gigalith is defensive enough.
I wonder why they make that play. They might not have anything... I wonder if they don't have any moves to hit Incineroar with, because if I were them, I'd be saving my Steel Sight and super effective attack for when you've got half of your Dynamax HP, you know?
Yep. But at this point, because they attacked into the Gigalith, I'm at +2, so my Gigalith can just kind of roll through them.
Yeah, for sure.
Close combat onto the Kyurem White, and then a Flare Blitz. So really in this game, Aromatisse was just the carry because of setting up that.
Aromatisse is such a good Trick Room setter. I didn't really realize until I had to play it. But like, the Aromavale is, you know...
Yeah, Aromavale,
so
it's basically a built-in Mental Orb.
But like, if you're up against it, you can't risk taunting into that slot, so it gives the Aromatisse player a lot of wiggle room to not run Aromavale, if that makes sense. And I think you recognize that.
And that's what I got away with this round, is because I knew they only had, like, Tangrowth, or not Tangrowth, they only had, like, 1 or 2 Pokemon even capable of taunting it. And you're really going to rely on that when I could just have Aromavale. So I didn't expect taunts to come this week.
Yeah, for sure.
And then getting into Game 3, I know they've led Rotom both games. They've been playing very scared of me leading Solgaleo. So I decided to call them out on that and lead Urshifu Water this game, even though it's a Pokemon I would normally try to keep in the back to sweep with. Just to kind of punish them for that reliance on Rotom.
We do see the same lead from their end.
Yep.
As well.
So this turn, they switch out Rotom because it's just going to die to a Surging Strikes. Predicting that, I go ahead and go with a close combat, because if they switched out into Kyurem White here, they basically would have just died.
And he's still getting a lot of damage onto the Celesteela. Like,
Yep.
it's worth it, especially after this proc here.
Yep.
The Focus
Focus Sash keeping me alive here, and then I go ahead and get my Trick Room up.
Interesting that they allow you to get your Trick Room up. There's just like no opposition to it at all.
Yep.
You know?
And this turn I just go for a full double switch because Aromatisse is going to just die to the Celesteela, and Urshifu's too fast that they can just kind of pick up a free KO onto it.
Yeah.
So I switch in a way that I try to get resistances into where there's going to be attacking.
Mm-hmm.
But this multi-attack goes ahead and goes into Gigalith with procs my weakness policy. So we talked about earlier about Savali being able to go boom. Gigalith is another of those Pokemon that can go boom. And after they've procced my weakness policy...
And it frees up your Dynamax for Solgaleo.
Yep. But it goes ahead and picks up a KO into Celesteela, one of their main offensive threats here, which is super important.
Yeah. Really good KO into Celesteela for sure. Gigalith is a really good Pokemon, I think, especially in draft, but even in some of the earlier series of VGC. I think people underrated it.
Yeah, it's like Tyranitar exists, which is what a lot of people will go with just because its base total stats is higher. But Gigalith being as slow as it is makes it perfect for a Trick Room setup.
Yeah, exactly.
So at this point, I know Solgaleo is just going to be my carry for the rest of this game. So I actually want to get rid of Trick Room, like stall out the Trick Room turns.
Mm-hmm.
Or in this case, what I do is just go ahead and reverse Trick Room with Aromatisse. I switched out into Urshifu, so that way I'm not eating up a Will-O-Wisp.
Yeah.
And this Aromatisse, that's max special bulk, goes ahead and just barely hangs on to another huge max attack.
Really nice. Really nice. Doesn't seem like they're running that Flash Cannon, but...
Nope. But the thing is, Flash Cannon is a lower base power and isn't stab. So I would have hung on with a couple HP. I would have gotten the Trick Room up, but then I wouldn't have... I might have died to Sand if they had the Flash Cannon.
Yeah.
But at this point I can switch back into Solgaleo, and Solgaleo is now the fastest thing on the field. At this point the scariest thing is a Will-O-Wisp into the Solgaleo, so I just go ahead and Helping Hand Rockfall into it.
For sure, and I wonder how much a Max Flare from Kieran White's doing to Solgaleo and Max. Obviously not enough to pick up a one-hit KO.
They're actually, they don't have the fire move, they have a ground coverage.
I see. That probably does a little bit better against your team as well.
But at this point, they basically have to decide whether to throw an attack into Solgaleo, which won't kill, or pick up the KO on Aromatisse, because if they don't... If they hadn't have KO'd Aromatisse here, I would have been able to pick up... Like, I could have just Moonblasted into the Kyurem and dealt a bunch of damage that way.
Yeah, one thing I might have been afraid of, I'm not sure if they run it, but an ally switch on the Rotom could have been really scary there. Not that it matters anymore, but...
Well, I also would have just still gotten a Rockfall into the Kyurem, so...
Yeah.
So...
This is true.
This endgame just protect on the last turn of their Dynamax to not pick up a big attack, and then they protect because it's the last turn of my Dynamax, but at this point that Steel Spike into a Sunsteel Strike is just enough to pick up the KO on Kyurem.
Yeah. Well played on both sides there. I think, especially a lot of prep and thought from Brad about playing defensively that first game, but like...
Yeah, that first game they played really well.
You adapted very well in the next couple of games.
I think that second game they would have won if I hadn't have gotten that healer heal off of my burn.
Hmm.
But then the game 3, I just outled them and was able to snowball from there.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And especially the Gigalith explosion, I think that's really interesting because you're not repeating your tactics, so they might have been prepared for you to go a different way with your game.
Yeah, max that Gigalith that turn.
Yeah.
Well, it would have been
And
awkward to max the Gigalith because it was almost on empty HP.
yeah,
But
or even just rock slide into those 2 slots and keep it around. Maybe not pick up the KO on Silvally, but you know.
but also, Explosion on Gigalith is kind of a move you don't expect. But going into this week, I was actually really trying to figure out what the 4th move should be because I wanted Rock Slide Close Combat and Protect, and there was like no other coverage moves that mattered. Typically, you'd have either like Darker Ground through like Throat Chop or Earthquake, but they just didn't matter into my opponent's team. So the Explosion was kind of it might come up, and it actually paid off huge this game.
That's really good. Well, congrats to you
Thank you.
for the big win. Starting the season off right.
Yeah. I was very nervous when I saw my bolt-on set was wrong. But the other plan I brought ended up being enough to win the back-to-back games.
Yeah, for sure. It always feels good when you're able to redeem yourself in game 2 and 3.
Yeah. Did you have any other comments before we go ahead and end it?
I think I'm all good for the moment.
Yeah.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah. Thanks for recording with me. Hopefully we'll get to do more of this.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of fun. It is fun.